Hello, I'm Sam, and here is...
Adam.
And you're listening to the PMMetalGuide podcast, the third edition of this wonderful beast. Today we're going to be covering the positive effects of COVID-19 on the broader metal community.
Yeah, which I don't think has been talked about nearly enough as it should have been.
Yeah, I agree.
At all.
Actually, I was going to send you this, but earlier today I was reading Invisible Oranges, and they just dropped a podcast today about COVID-19 in the metal community. And I was like, oh no, what if they cover the same thing? But it was mostly on the negatives, so...
Well, that's good. Well, no, it's not good, but it is good for us.
Yeah, it's good for that fresh content machine.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what we listened to this week. It was, as you touched upon, it was sort of a spicy Friday. We got a few good albums.
Dude. Very spicy. Well, a very spicy week. I can't even say totally a very spicy Friday. Because, like...
Yeah, you're right. Well, Neil Cerciaga's Mouth Dreams came out on, Tuesday, so...
The albums that I have been really, really ripping are the surprise Scoff and Serpent column albums that came out last... it was last Friday. It was a surprise Friday drop.
Yeah, it's always Friday.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, for those unaware, Scoff is an Icelandic black metal band who's basically been, I don't want to say critical darlings, but they've been pretty highly reviewed by critics in the last few.
Yeah, I've definitely seen them mentioned several times on a few sites.
Yeah. They have a, I guess, traditional album cycle of, an album every 2 years or so, something like that. So they dropped their third full-length, Scoff 3, or Scoff Cubed, actually. I believe is the technical, I know, is the name of it. But honestly, it's pretty good. It's very good. It's a very solid black metal album that came out this year. However, I have to say that I've been enjoying the Serpent column release a lot more.
That album is amazing.
Serpent column, Serpent column is a black metal and mathcore group.
I just describe it as avant-garde black metal personally. That's what it's listed on Metalum, and I think it's more Krallicy than Frontier.
I think so too. But at the same time, there are definitive breakdowns in this black metal. That's it. But it's just a ripping, 45 minutes of just eviscerating, music.
Yeah,
sometimes it's not even black metal. It becomes this.
They sort of have
swirling,
some psych black influence in there.
Yeah.
I read a column earlier today that described them as America's answer to Death Spell Omega. I see that.
I totally see that too. Yeah.
I listened to it for the first time yesterday, and I was floored. When you just hear the first 2 minutes of an album, and you can just tell it's amazing.
Yeah,
it was one of those moments.
Mm-hmm. It's really something to behold. You can't describe it because it is just such a flurry of instrumentation. And, the vocals are really gritty, horrid screams, definitely not good on the guy's throat.
The production's also pretty interesting. It kind of bounces between having a more modern sheen and then being, super chaotic, raw BM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Serpent column's super prolific, because I remember playing Mirror and Darkness on my radio show last year, and being oh, this is pretty cool. But then Endless Detainment also came out earlier this year.
Yeah, Endless Detainment came out this year, which is an EP, which is, I think, more mathcore, definitely. Songs are way shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Songs are 1-2 minutes and are just the grind, I guess, rather than black metal. Mm-hmm. But, still equally amazing. But enough about Serpent column.
Yeah, we gotta talk about some bad black metal.
Well, you can talk about bad black metal.
So, AMG gave the new Anal Narkthrath, or how... I'm not looking at it right now.
I think it's Nathrak.
All right.
I could be wrong.
The new Anal, and then
Nathrak.
Whatever. I listened to the new album, and oh my god, I could not get through it. Thing is, it's really like intense black metal moments, like very typical black metal, a little quicker than usual. Your fills, your tremolo picking, your blast beats with hyper modern production, and then every song has a clean chorus. And it's not like metalcore clean chorus. It's like melodic death metal clean chorus, and they just feel so shoehorned in. Wow. So I'm just listening to like a minute and a half of like awesome, like very aggressive black metal, and then all of a sudden you just get hit like a truck with this ridiculous over-the-top power metal moment. And the thing is, I was like, okay, maybe it's just the opening track, but no, it's every single song on the album.
Single track.
And the thing is, all these tracks have like the chorus like 4 times. It's not just like a nice moment.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, chorus-focused music's great. I love prog, but holy heck, I was not expecting this in my very aggressive modern black metal album.
Well, do you think that you could go back to it then, and with a different appreciation, maybe be like, hey, this is what this is, you know?
I mean, I'm sure I could, but I don't want to. I just don't like music that's written like that. And knowing what I know about like my taste discrepancies, particularly with AMG, it makes so much sense, because they love all the really showy melodic death metal that I just don't enjoy at all.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I'm never listening to that album again. However, if you really like that style, I'm good for you.
Yeah. Cool.
We gotta talk about Sumac.
Yeah.
That just got yeeted off of Spotify for no reason.
Well, no, actually, stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because one of the articles that we were talking about in our news segment is relating to that.
Oh, really?
Yes, so we will dive into that. But have you listened to May You Be Held yet?
Yeah, I listened to it twice, and
it
was kind of exactly what I expected, but at the same time, like, I'm impressed.
I'm impressed, but at the same time, a little underwhelmed. And the reason I'm a little underwhelmed is because I went back and listened to Love and Shadow just or not even before, after, and I was like, whoa. Like, The Task exists. Ecstasy of Unbecoming exists. Like, all those songs are like just amazing artistic statements. And while I feel that way with this album, I also feel that it's just them repeating the formula. Which is not a bad thing.
I was going to say, I think what makes Love and Shadow so incredible is they're really able to seamlessly blend all these desperate elements together, and they're able to make the songs sound fully realized. And with this album, you kind of get the sense that like they're letting like their Keiji Haino experimentalism influence the core music a little too much. Because I like the weird drony moments and the weird noisy freeform explosions, but I think what made Love and Shadow so great is it still felt focused while still doing, or while still incorporating those elements. And this album, some of the songs I feel like don't quite deserve their really long runtime and don't quite deserve these moments of just silence for several minutes.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I agree. Although I really like both of the wicked long form songs in this track, like a lot. Like, May You Be Held is sick.
And Consumed is also sick.
And Consumed is also sick. Like we're kind of shit-talking this album, but, like, don't get us wrong. Like, this is still a sick record.
Yeah, and, like, I can only imagine that it will lend itself to repeat listens, because there's just a lot here. And it really is phenomenal when a band like Sumac just comes onto the scene, and then they just kind of grow as they release more and more albums in a really natural way. And that's definitely what this is.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely have to give it a few more listens. My initial impressions were like, it's a little too long for him, but at the same time, Sumac, and they write good music. So
yeah,
you can definitely feel like the chemistry even on this album when they're just jamming or just going into crazy long form instrumental sections.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's still good.
Yeah,
that's what I took away from it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you know what I actually have been kind of ripping, like, a lot?
What?
Is Frozen Niagara Falls by Prurian. We talked about Vatican Shadow last week, and I've been ripping Frozen Niagara
Okay,
Falls.
there's a reason the internet metal and noise community loves it. It's a statement. It's amazing. It's really good for what it is.
Yes.
I've just found that I really cannot enjoy that type of music for longer than like a few songs at a time.
I get it. I get it. It's all right. I think I'm growing a large enjoyment for like not dance based, I shouldn't say that, but rhythmic electronic. And not like, pure like modern dubstep, I guess. But like,
come on, dubstep's a bad example.
Well, no, but even like something, because like Burial is dubstep. Like that is dubstep, but I love Burial because.
All right, let's not get into the nitty gritty of electronic subgenres because we are out of our depth.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Regardless, Prurient, cool guy, cool, very prolific.
Yeah, no, Frozen Niagara Falls is an artistic statement to say the least. Yeah, I know we say that a lot, but wow, it's a great album.
Yeah. And I've also been just ripping the Deftones catalog again in release in hindsight of our last episode of our podcast, which you should check out if you haven't already.
Yeah, we talk about Ohms, which is a good album.
Speaking of Ohms, Ohms is now the second highest metal album on this year's chart on Rate Your Music.
Okay, now I gotta whip this out. Where is it?
It is beating Evolved. Currently, it is at number 9 of the year.
Wow. I mean,
it is just below Oronzi Pazuzu.
Checks out.
And I also found out that there's a new Clipping album coming out.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a sequel to There Existed an Addiction to Blood.
I just saw this literally like 5 minutes ago, and I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, they have like 2 singles out, and they're amazing. Where have you been?
Dude, no, I literally haven't been here because I just saw that, so I'm very excited for that.
I got the promo for the album on the radio, and I have the files on my computer, but I haven't listened to it for no reason.
You got to take advantage of that, man. That's a privilege.
Yeah, it really is. Well, I'm gonna get the CD for it too. So
okay, all right.
I'm excited. I don't know, Clipping, awesome band. I'm excited for that.
Yes.
But last album I want to talk about, because I unfortunately didn't get to listen to too much music this week because it was a very busy week. But I've unfortunately been listening to a fair amount of Broken Side.
Dude, I've been meaning to ask. Are you okay? Are you doing well emotionally? Like, I need to know.
Okay, tell you what. Broken Side were ahead of their time. That doesn't mean the music's good, though.
Yes.
Thing is, I've sort of found that like I definitely have implicit biases when it comes to what I appreciate in the broader metal and heavy music community, and I want to confront those biases in a way that like I can understand why I hold them. And as far as Broken Side and like, let's say electronic influenced punk, I gotta understand the appeal, and for them, I honestly believe it's all intentional. Like, the music's intentionally very trashy. It's intentionally super in your face. And the comparison that, like, all the quote-unquote woke journalists have been making is that, Broken Side walked so 100 Gex can run. And I love 100 Gex, one of my favorite artists of recent years. So I had to listen to Broken Side to get it.
It makes sense. I get it.
I would not recommend listening to their discography, but they have like 1 or 2 bangers. And I think if you can understand that the music is sort of intentionally ridiculous, over the top, and in poor taste, yeah. But that's all I have. However, I do want to make a statement on the intro to the Idols video, or to the Idols talking point we had last week.
Our first audit.
Yeah, just because I think I or you or whatever said we sort of condemned leftist virtue signaling that was present on Idol's record, and at the end of the day, I think me and Adam agree with basically everything Idol stand for. We were just sort of cringing at the lyrics, and I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that 2 very into underground metal college kids are probably left leaning, so. Just saying.
Very true. Very true. That's not too difficult. Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Do you have any other albums you'd like to talk about, Adam?
Honestly, I don't think so. I do actually. I want to mention one album that's not in my last FM 3x3. And it's a mathcore. I know, so much mathcore. It's a mathcore outfit called Zeit.
Zeit?
Yes, Zeit. They're an Italian mathcore outfit, and they put out their sophomore album a little bit earlier in September, and
is this really
it's self-titled? Yes, it's really mathcore. Like, if you take the Converge parts of mathcore and just make it modern, like, I don't want to call this a modern Jane Doe, because it's not nearly as good as that, but what it is it has that same feel, right?
Do they have breakdowns?
Do they have breakdowns, he says. Yes, they have breakdowns. It's pretty cool. It's just mathcore. It's good mathcore. So if that tickles your fancy, then check out the new Zeit album, as well as the new Serpent column.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely check them both out. I need more music to listen to always.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's all I have, really.
All right, cool. I guess we can move on to our topic of the week.
Yeah. So, COVID-19, yikes.
Big yikes.
That's not very good. That's not very... That's cringe, in fact.
COVID-19 is immensely cringe, one could say.
Yeah, COVID-19 is pretty cringe. And a lot of bad things have happened because of it, i.e. the death of the live scene, which, I don't know. We are Bandcamp fiends, and a lot of the artists that at least I support on Bandcamp are, like, very actively being like, hey, it's Bandcamp Friday, don't forget to support your your favorite artists.
Yeah.
And, like, definitely do that, because it's extremely important that your favorite artists stay afloat during this time.
Yeah, I think before we talk about all that sort of school of thought, I think it's important to recognize just like how this might actually just kill like live music as far as rock and metal are concerned.
It's definitely a scary time.
We've already seen some pretty notable clubs in the New England area close down and all across the country. And it's very saddening because, unfortunately, metal, especially in the 2010s, has never been the most profitable venture. And obviously live music is the backbone of that economy. And to see so many venues and, by extension, so many bands just have their livelihoods crushed by something that no one can control except for our president, who did a very bad job of controlling it. It kind of hurts.
Wow, that's a call out.
I'm just saying.
No, you're absolutely right, though. It is extremely, extremely disheartening to see. Yeah, it's horrible.
Horrible.
But, here we are. We're living. We're getting through it. But on the other side of that, you know what's great about social distancing and isolation? A lot of music can get written in that time.
Very true. Not just music, but so many, I guess, novel ventures that a lot of people hadn't really considered before this.
I mean, without doing too much, plugging of my own ventures in life, I took up drums in March, as soon as social distancing sort of really started. And I think I've progressed pretty well in a 6-month span or whatever. Yeah, I'm no Portnoy or Pert, but I can maybe hold a tune, maybe hold a beat.
I really do think that that's something I wanted to touch upon. So many people have sort of taken this as an opportunity to pick up new instruments or further their own playing. I know I recorded a bunch and gotten a lot better at guitar in the time. And I know one of our good friends has taken up bass guitar since COVID began, and he's become fairly proficient. And there are just so many people across the country or across the world that have picked up an instrument, and that's really a wonderful thing to see. Actually, I had a figure I wanted to cite. This is very recent. Fender actually has sold the most instruments in any year ever, specifically this year.
Wow.
So
I mean, it makes sense.
people are just buying instruments, bettering themselves, furthering their hobbies. I know I purchased a guitar during this time. Like, so.
Yeah. I think that it's also important to note, oddly, this isn't necessarily a good thing, but it's also not a bad thing. Streaming numbers are through the roof right now. I was looking on Billboard somewhat recently, and it said that like it's almost like doubled since the whole quarantining started, just on the fact that people don't have anything else to do except for sit inside and listen to music. So
I fully agree.
At least in that way, something is being done for artists. I don't want to say that too expressively because Spotify doesn't really pay their artists anything, but it's something.
Oh, I fully agree. Well, I think what's kind of interesting is I remember writing about this at the start of the pandemic, and that stream numbers are actually a lot down towards the beginning. But I think as people have sort of acclimated to the environment, they've been discovering more art, spending more time listening to music and whatnot, and that's definitely cool.
Yeah, I think I do think that overall is a good thing, at least in some way. But what I really want to talk about today is the fact that the artists we already know and love have a ton of time and a ton of reference point to write new music from.
Yeah, it's almost like when all of your music is inspired by the death and despair of the world around you, and we have the worst national pandemic in modern history, that you have some more artistic inspiration and a lot of time to build on it.
Yeah. And the weird thing is I think this year is a crazy year already for music, but I can't wait to see what happens next year.
Yeah, all the bands that wrote entire albums during quarantine.
Seriously, yeah.
And we've already seen so many albums just forged in isolation. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think that even people like, I don't know, we love Ms. Moore a lot, and I feel like they're putting out a new album in a little while that it's a collaborative effort, but at the same time, like, I'm pretty sure that spawned from COVID, which I don't know, I think's cool.
I agree.
I played a band on my radio show that is part of the that was included on the Vigor Reconstruct comp, and I actually want to touch on those compilations really quick.
Yeah, of course.
After that, but this band called Old Nick, is a Californian-based raw black metal and dungeon synth 3-piece.
Yes, raw black metal and dungeon synth.
Right, and this year, they have released 6 EPs and 2 full-length albums.
Oy vey.
Right. And also, the funniest name of an album I've ever seen in my entire life, by the way.
What's the name?
Well, I'm going to say the whole thing, so prepare yourself.
All right,
it's
I'm here.
TNOTAATPBTQASFABOOTDOSSTTEVHS, parentheses, the night of the ambush and the pillage by the Queen Anne styled furniture, animated by one of the dozen or so spells that the Eastern Vampire has studied.
Yeah, I respect it, I guess.
I don't know. I thought it was very humorous, but like, I think that goes to show, like, a lot can get done with a lot of free time.
Totally.
Sure, these EPs are only 20 or so minutes long each, but that's still a lot of music, and it's not like you can just churn out a song. You need to actually take the process and take the time to create music that, it doesn't necessarily has to be exactly what you want, but there's still definitely a process that goes into it.
I fully agree.
And you gotta respect the hustle.
I fully agree. And I think another really cool aspect about quarantine albums in particular is the artists know they're not going to be touring to support these, so they can take on things that don't need to necessarily fit with their regular sound, or they can take on things that won't work in a live setting. I think a really good example of this is Taylor Swift, because Taylor Swift released a chamber pop singer-songwriter album, and that's definitely something she never would have tackled unless she wasn't going to be touring or promoting it heavily. And there are just so many things like this. I think Code Orange doing their live acoustic album's another example, and I'm sure there are plenty of notable exceptions in the underground as well that we're not talking about.
I feel like a lot... I mean, I definitely agree with that point. And I think that it is one thing to have, Taylor Swift come out with that. And, I'm not a Swift fan, or I don't know. I don't know what you call it. I don't know what the Swifters call themselves.
They're called Swifties.
Swifties?
Yes.
Okay. Well, for Swifties, they'll probably hear one of those songs on tour, maybe. Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And a 3-hour long set list.
Yeah, of Taylor Swift jumping up and down on stage. But...
Whoa, Adam, what are you trying to say?
I don't know. But what I am trying to say here is that, I don't know, maybe they are experimenting, but who knows? Maybe they will bring it into a live setting. Maybe we will see a Bell Witch and Aerial Ruin collaborative tour. Or a Mare Cognitum and Spectral Lore tour. I mean, who knows?
That'd be pretty cool.
I would be very cool.
I'd appreciate that very much.
I would too. Because, I don't know. I feel like if you assemble enough of a people and you're working with enough talent, you can bring that stuff to the stage in a very inventive way. And obviously, people are going to flock to these shows as soon as they reopen. Mm-hmm. I'm going to a concert. It's going to be the first thing I do. As soon as I can.
Yeah, in 2024, I'm going to go to a ton of concerts. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. But I feel like at that point, the artists are going to have so much time for preparation and maybe things that they want to do that they're going to at least want to try live in a live setting. Because they're going to need to bring back with something big.
And I was reading an interview with actually one of the Between the Buried and Me members, and they mentioned that they have an 18-month touring cycle, and it hasn't stopped for 25 years or 20 years or whatever. And
that's crazy.
That obviously they love being on the road, but it's nice to take a break every now and again. It definitely makes you reevaluate where your career is going, what music you want to produce, and how you want to tackle the future.
Yeah. I mean, the Between the Buried and Me guys are a great example because, how many times have they played, some of those songs live?
Well, yeah, Selkies.
Yeah, how many times have they played Selkies live? And maybe, who knows? They could remake Selkies. They could re-record Selkies to be something interesting that they want to play. I don't know. That could be something that they do. But now is the time for experimentation more than ever. And I think that is going to come out as soon as live shows come back. Because, we are going to see innovation in that.
I feel like I think we should also touch upon all the compilations that have dropped.
Yeah, I was just about to say. So, for those of you who may not know, there's been 2 very notable compilations that have dropped in recent memory in the last month or so.
As well as a million smaller splits and cover albums.
Oh yeah, of course. But there was the Shut It Down compilation, which was in support of the movement for Black Lives, which came out in September, which has got some huge names on it, by the way. It has
Sun on it.
It has Sun on it. It has Minority Threat. It's got Primitive Man. It's got Jesus Piece, Misery Signals. Those are big groups, And it's good that they're, even putting their stuff out there. I mean, a lot of those big groups have just been releasing stuff or putting on stuff from their new albums. I know that the Misery Signal, Vile Creature, there are a few more that, put out stuff that wasn't, or that was already released by them on another thing this year just to show their support and all that. But there is also a ton of new music, like the brand new Primitive Man instrumental track, which is sick.
Yeah, that's like one of the best Primitive Man tracks ever.
No, right?
Or the new Amygdala song. Oh my god.
Yeah, like these tracks are awesome. And you have to guess that these aren't just unreleased tracks. Like, at least for me, I don't know how the back end works of the whole touring musician cycle and being signed on a label and all that, but I don't think that a lot of these tracks were, just sitting in a folder somewhere waiting to be put on an album. No. I think that a lot of these were recorded for the purpose of being on this album. And the same goes for the Vigor Reconstruct compilation, which is for the benefit for the guy that runs the Vigor Deconstruct label, whose father had some heart issues and they have to pay a massive medical bill. So a bunch of black metal bands from around the world were like, hey, you basically progressed our career, so we're going to do this for you. Wah, here's 35 songs of unreleased and cover black metal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think all these compilations are definitely going to good causes. It's sort of cool to see like a brigade of underground metal musicians rise up to fight both social injustice and like just general malaise in the face of such a rough global pandemic.
Yeah. And I also think it's important that a lot of these bands are getting the love now that they deserve. I mean, like, sure, you have on this Vigor Deconstruct comp or Reconstruct comp, you have Esoteric, you have, and while I wouldn't call
okay, now I gotta look at the track list for this.
Yeah, while I wouldn't call Mare Cognitum and Spectralore and Panopticon like big.
They're pretty big.
They're pretty big. And so seeing an artist like, I don't know, like Despondent Moon, who's dropped like their second album like earlier this year, which is super good lo-fi black metal, by the way. But like no one's been reporting on that. And now that they're on this huge compilation, and I think that's great.
I agree. Yeah, it's not only an opportunity for the larger names to maintain their success, but for smaller artists who also make great work to get showcased in a way that they wouldn't otherwise be.
Yeah. And I don't know if something like this would be even put out there without, the economic trouble that everyone is going through at this time. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting to, I guess, see it play out.
Yeah, and like
very good comp, by the way. Both of
I've
them.
listened to them both only once or twice, but they're immensely solid. And I think you mentioned earlier, like Bandcamp Fridays. That's been such a wonderful tool to point commerce directly in the direction. That's funny. Of the artists themselves, instead of purchasing an album through a label or purchasing it through Amazon. A lot of these people are buying directly from the artist on Bandcamp on Fridays, where all the profits go to the artist, and that's a really cool thing. I know for our incredible musical ventures, we've seen some benefits for that, and I can only imagine how living musicians and people that do this full time benefit from it.
Yeah, it's really nice to see that people do actually care. Like the Bandcamp team, like they care. They're happy that, they're not happy. They're understanding that, independent musicians use their platform religiously, and they need to be cognizant of that, or they're not going to get any business in the future. Because, I don't know if any one of you have heard, but you probably heard that the Spotify CEO, like 2 months ago...
Just work harder, Lamau.
Was just like, just work harder, make more music. And that is such a horrible stance to have.
I know.
Like, especially now more than ever. It is just a horrible. Oh,
I agree. It actively, spits in the face of artistic integrity.
Literally. And not even, sure, metal does not get the love on Spotify that it probably deserves, but any genre too. Even someone like, I don't know, like Kendrick Lamar is a massively popular artist, but he hasn't put out an album in almost 3 years now.
It's been more than 3 years, actually.
3 years, yeah, more than 3 years. And like, the Daniel Ek is saying that to Kendrick Lamar. Just make more music. You're not getting as many streams as Cardi B. She's put out WAP, and look at her. Look at her go. You know? She's making all this money. So, and like, I don't know. I feel like Kendrick is pretty beloved in not only the critical, but also the mainstream scene. And like, it's just...
It's closed-minded,
it's so
to say the
shocking.
least.
It's so shocking.
And for, gosh, I said it. And for the Spotify, the fact that it gives like a quarter of a cent for every stream is really telling. I think it's like 10,000 streams for $1, something actually absolutely ridiculous. And the fact this company is just taking all of the money that would go towards the artists and probably funneling directly to the highest payers, it feels extra bad.
Right.
And especially in a genre like metal where it's album oriented, and even bigger names release album every 5-6 years sometimes, because they're really meant to be statements and they're really meant to encapsulate a lot of different things, and it's closed-minded and it's not very cool. No,
it's not cool. I am fortunate, however, that people have taken steps to be like, basically, fuck you, Spotify. Like, I don't want to jump the gun here, but that's basically what Sumac did.
Yeah, I was just reading the article.
Yeah. So, Sumac, new album, May You Be Held, just came out, have taken down their album from Spotify because it was not actually intended to be on Spotify. It was intended to just be on, I believe, Bandcamp. The single Iron Chair is on Spotify and will stay there. But...
It's also it's on Tidal and Deezer and iTunes, just specifically not Spotify.
Well, it makes total sense too, because those platforms pay like double at least of amount of streams.
Yeah.
I know that's why Phil Elverum released his album only on Bandcamp too. In this year, the new Microphones album is only on Bandcamp or on non-Spotify streaming services. Because he needs to make money. He is a musician. He's a live musician. He's a musician. He's a full-time musician.
Yeah, now more than ever, you need to monetize what you do.
Yeah, and I actually very recently did a report on why live concerts are, and live music in general, is just such a necessity for a lot of people. And like, what I didn't know about this until like yesterday or whatever, 86% of musicians have a second job.
Wow.
Did you know that? 86.
It's almost like this is not a sustainable industry or job market. Is that America specifically?
Yes, that is America specifically.
Gotcha. Because I imagine if you're bulling in the Scandinavian countries, it's probably easier.
Probably. But yeah, no. This is from, like, a few years ago, or whatever, like a 2017 poll or whatever. But that's more than, like, double of any other artistic career. Any.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Like, that's stunning to me.
Well, for a long, long time, the music industry wasn't actually profitable. And only with the rise of CDs and now the rise of streaming is it profitable, but...
I don't even know if it's profitable.
Well, it's profitable as a whole, but it doesn't directly pay the labor force in this case.
No, of course not.
Because that's just how the system works.
Yeah. And that's really a shame. Because they deserve it. I mean, I don't know. You like how often do you listen to music? And like how much money do you think you're giving to an artist whenever you listen to their music? Like how much would you pay? Hey,
there's a reason Bandcamp exists.
No, there's a reason Bandcamp exists. Like, it feels bad to me that I have to, like, that I choose to use streaming services. And it's a shame that, like, CDs are so expensive. Because, I don't know, if I could, I would buy everything on CD.
Yeah, you gotta support the underground.
Yeah, you gotta support the underground. And it's really disheartening to know that people are just going through this right now. It's
Very
really hard.
disheartening. I can only imagine if this was my full-time livelihood and I toured for 320 days a year, and then I find out that, through the fault of no one but, a higher power, if there is one, I just can't do this anymore, and I'm going to have to struggle for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But on that note, I do want to talk about, the rise of live streaming and filmed live shows and produce video content during COVID, because I think that's a wonderful topic.
Means. Yeah, go for it.
I think right at the start when we went into full quarantine, Code Orange were planning an amazing tour for their new album.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty good album. I'm sure we have some nice thoughts on that, but Code Orange sort of kicked off the whole live streaming concerts fad. And since then, not only have we seen a bunch of bands directly live streaming their performances, we've seen a bunch of bands filming their performances, editing them, producing very high quality content based on that. We've also seen a lot of artists diversifying and doing things like live streams. I know a notable example for that would be like Heavy Devi.
Yeah.
He's done a bunch of live streams directly for charity and for other friends of his, and they're really cool, and it's cool to see people work within their means and make things work. And so many popular musicians have started streaming on Twitch regularly, have started YouTube channels. I think the funniest example, who I watch actually, is Tellock from Mayhem. Like, the most true black metal thing you can do during quarantine is to start a YouTube channel where you vlog and play guitar.
I guess so.
I think that's hysterical, but it's cool. And not only have we seen that, but we've just seen a lot of, willingness to persevere through these times. And I know, as a fan who really wants to go to shows, some of these live streams are really cool and really nice opportunities to showcase your favorite artists in their natural environment. I think we both watched the BT Bam live streams, the Oranzi Pazuzu live stream. That was awesome. I'm really excited for the Deer Hunter live stream in like a week.
Yeah.
So there are just a lot of opportunities to stay involved with bands you like, to support them directly, and I guess to experience a whole new wealth of content that wouldn't be produced otherwise. And I think that's a valuable thing. And I think that's one of the few benefits that will continue to help artists as we eventually move out of whatever this is.
Yeah. Do you think that once, a vaccine is hopefully developed and, we're back on the ground, do you think that live stream concerts will persist?
Yeah, I think it's a really helpful way to supplement income when you're not touring, because even if it doesn't make as much money, if you just do a few live streams and you really publicize it and you do something cool like an album playing event or like a covers live stream, or like another example, like what Code Orange did with their Beneath the Skin. They made it a big spectacle. They did an acoustic set and a cover set. They filmed the whole thing with really high budget, and then they put it out as an album. That's a really smart business move, and it's uniquely taking advantage of this pretty troubling time. And I think stuff like that's really helpful. And I think if a band wants to use that to supplement their regular touring cycle once things go back to normal, it'd be a great option.
Sure. Makes sense, though. I get that.
I will say, though, I haven't looked at any of the numbers as far as bands that have been selling tickets for virtual tours. I know Suicide Silence did something for this, and I was interested to see how that turned out, but I couldn't find any data on it.
Well, that's interesting to me, because on the one hand, I totally understand why you want to charge for a ticket to your live stream. There's a lot that goes into it. You do need some sort of operating capital to start that up and begin that process and do it. But like at the same time, I don't know if this is a personal thing about being stickly with money, but like the Oranzi Pazuzu stream was free. I bought a $40 t-shirt that directly went to support the band. But I was very hesitant to buy like a $10 ticket to the Leprous live stream that happened like a month later or whatever.
All right, no,
How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's tough because on one end, obviously, a band has to make money. We've been talking about it, and on the other end, like, we as a consumer enjoy certain privileges, and I think it's important to like recognize where you stand on that matter and recognize where the artist's needs stand on that matter. Because I think in most of these cases, it's the label's decision or the manager's decision rather than artist's decision.
Yeah, certainly.
Because 9 times out of 10, an artist would like easier access to their art.
Yeah.
But I mean, personally, I feel like as an artist, I'd just make it free. And I think the way to go is make it free, make it available afterwards, and then just heavily advertise. Like, please donate, or donate if you want to, or sell exclusive merch for the event. I think overall that's the way I'd prefer, but I understand that people have needs. And if certain demographics are more likely to purchase tickets, then by all means exploit that market.
Right.
I think also Enslaved is doing a virtual tour right now for their new album.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I just found that out.
I didn't know that.
And I don't know.
Might have to finally listen to Enslaved.
Yeah, right. It's interesting though. It's interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting. Well, I don't know. We've had a pretty good conversation about this.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty long.
To summarize, it makes people more productive, definitely artists. It allows them to explore opportunities they wouldn't otherwise, and it's definitely led to an uptick in video live streams and video concerts. Oh, also, we got to mention stuff like 2 Minutes to Late Night. Their cover series is super awesome.
Yes. And I think that, actually, one more final point. I think the door for collaboration, which we kind of touched on earlier, is way more accessible now. Because people are, like, in with the, I guess, remote sort of recording.
Yeah, totally.
Because, like you said, I don't remember the name of the series. The 10 Minutes to Late Night or whatever. But, like, that's all remote. And those songs sound immaculate.
Yeah. Like, we have the means to do it, and we've had the means for a while, but I guess it wasn't seen as viable because metal's typically an older demographic. But it's cool to know that, in the future, rather than renting studio space and everyone traveling to the same city to record things, we can just plug it into a DAW and then send it to a professional mixer, and people can be a lot more productive that way.
Absolutely. I think sort of to close off, that's a really good point that we should address, I guess.
Yeah,
overall.
Definitely. Well, I know a news story that's been in the back of my mind all week. I'm sure you want to know.
I do.
Fear Factory issues statement on departure of vocalist Burton Seabell.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we have an official Fear Factory segment here on PMMetalGuide podcast.
Oh my god!
What happened? What is the official statement, Sam? Please enlighten me.
It's just like a kind of long. It's just kind of long Instagram post or Facebook post, and it's very wishy-washy, and like you can tell that I assume it's Dino that wrote this. You can tell that he just hates the vocalist at this point, and he is pissed off at him. And there's a lot of like passive-aggressive signaling here. And then he mentions the GoFundMe and the fact that he fought for the name for years, and then it's just kind of like, ow, I don't know. I guess I feel bad for the fans, because this is just super messy. But at the same time, if you still like Fear Factory in 2020, like, what are you doing?
What are you doing here?
I'm sorry, Dino.
That's a great story. I'm glad that you brought that up. I needed to know how Fear Factory was
Next
doing.
week, it's going to be like, Fear Factory vocalist rejoins the band. we gotta message Corey Taylor and ask him what he thinks about this one.
Honestly, dude.
Actually, he dropped a new album.
I have not listened.
It's called Corey Motherfucking Taylor. I have insider info that it is atrocious and never should have been released.
I can imagine. I'm looking at the cover art, and I'm cringing hard.
All right, now I have to look at. Oh gosh, I just looking at that profile pic on Spot. Oh gosh, it really is. Is that a wrestling belt?
It is a wrestling belt. It is a bedazzled wrestling belt, no less.
Okay, Corey, I love you, dude. You're a great vocalist and you're pretty cool, but like, come on, man. Come on, man. Like, who is this marketed towards?
No, dude, it's the Slipknot boomers. And I know that's like weird to say, but that's who it is.
You're probably
like it's the 50-year-old guy that's been going to the Slipknot concerts that like was like, dude, you know what? I actually wish this was a Stone Sour show.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I can't say I've ever listened to Stone Sour ever, so.
Well, don't.
Apparently their 2012 album's good.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think we just got to recognize that it's not marketed towards us. We're not the intended audience.
Far from it. No. If you like Five Finger Death Punch, you might like the new Corey Taylor album. That's what I'll say.
Oh, God. I got to go peek. I'll be right back. And I'm sure you have some actual good stories, but I got to get this dumpster fire out of my system. I don't know if you've seen the brand new Jared Dines collaboration, Gent 2020.
I was going to mention it if you didn't.
Oy vey.
Yeah, oy vey. Well, I guess gent musicians need to make money during this time somehow too. All right.
Is Gent dead? Was this the final nail in the coffin?
Look, Gent's had a good 10 years, okay? It might be time.
I feel like it left its mark, though. Like, definitely.
It did. Oh, it did.
I feel like every modern band is influenced by Gent somehow.
All right, well, hold on. That's a podcast topic. Let's save that.
Right, that is a great podcast topic, though.
Yeah, well, let's put that in the bank and hold on to it for a little while.
Insert
for me,
Gent.
Yeah, insert Gent. For me, for news stories, I have a few. One of them was the Sumac one, about them basically saying "fuck you" to Spotify. So good on them.
Good on Aaron
for doing
Turner
that.
and the boys.
Yeah, good on them for doing that. Another one is that the new Greg Puciato album
came out 3 weeks early.
Came out 3 weeks early.
Is it good?
I don't know. I haven't listened to it. I just found out today that it came out 3 weeks early. Do you know why it came out 3 weeks early?
I could honestly not tell you. I know.
Okay, so the reason it happened is basically a reviewer leaked his album.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, a reviewer leaked his album like 3 weeks early. And so he released it 3 weeks early. And basically he made a bunch of posts being like, hey, fuck you to this guy. I'm an independent artist. Like, that's actually like the shittiest thing you can do.
Wow, that sucks. I guess you do have to get under the ball, though.
Yeah. So he took it upon himself to, officially make his album out, Child Soldier. It's what is it called?
It has a
Child Soldier, Creator of God. It is out on Bandcamp. It is not on Spotify yet, but it is on Bandcamp.
I'm sure.
So
it's
definitely
solid.
check it out.
The singles.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'll probably listen to it tonight. Well, maybe not tonight, but we'll find out. We'll find a time. It might come up in the next What Have We Been Listening To next week.
There's definitely a good chance.
Yeah.
Child Soldier.
And then
Destroyer.
yeah. And then finally, Donald Trump caught COVID-19. But that's not my story.
That's
my
a
story
but
my story is all of the metal bands reaching out on Twitter to say something about the situation.
give me some good highlights, because I haven't seen any Metal World takes.
Okay, so Mark Morton, who is the guitarist of Lamb of God, tweeted out this funny and relatable tweet. My mom just called me and told me not to say anything shitty on Twitter about Trump having COVID. Mom, I would never do such a thing. Heart. Fuck COVID. Thank you.
Wow, thanks.
Mark Morton.
Haha. He has really good signature pickups, actually.
Jinx of Black Veil Bride's fame, tweeted out, "Karma's a bitch," as a reply to the president's official Twitter announcement of his illness. Let's see. We've got some from Bad Wolves, Trapped.
What did Trapped dude say about this?
Trapped tweeted out, "What happens when Trump beats this thing and has no symptoms, just like a few other people in his administration who took the hydroxychloroquine/Z-Pack combo? Trump will say CDC is to blame for all the deaths while looking like Superman. Look what it did for Boris's popularity."
Wow, thank you, Trapped frontman, for the worst take I've heard on this whole thing. Jeez, that guy sucks.
Yeah, they suck.
Well, he sucks, because it's just him.
Yeah.
Wait, could you say that Trump is headstrong and ready to take on anyone?
He absolutely is. There's a bunch here. It's all cringe.
It's all very cringe. You definitely get, the out-of-touch boomer takes. Yeah. I will say, I saw him... what's his name? Polyphia guitarist... He pops up in my feed all the time. He had a pretty edgy take on it that I agreed with.
But was it? Now you gotta find it.
I don't know.
Because I want to hear it, and the world wants to hear it.
I don't know. I have a positive story I wanted to say, and it's the last one I have.
All right, go for positive story.
Riley Gale got a library named after him in Dallas.
Woo! Yeah.
It's like a little heartwarming, you know.
That is actually pretty heartwarming. I didn't know that.
Hell yeah, Riley.
Yeah.
Rest in power, my dude.
Literally, rest in power. I have a not... Well, I think it's a good thing. It could arguably be a good thing to some. The Atreyu vocalist...
Got booted, right?
Got booted.
For sexual assault allegations?
Yeah. Not good.
It's almost like when you do stuff like that, I don't know, you get punished for it?
Yeah. Yeah, don't be shitty.
Don't be shitty, man. Respect other people's boundaries.
Have you watched the Mastodon cooking show?
Mastodon cooking show is amazing.
I agree.
Actually, I was re-listening to Mastodon today because I watched the Brent Hines one. And I was like, wow, Mastodon are awesome.
Yeah, they are. This is another podcast topic, but something about Mastodon, the band just does something so right for so much of an audience. Because it has such mainstream and, I guess, critical appeal. At least to me.
Oh, I think there's a reason why they're one of the biggest metal bands in the world.
Yeah.
Actually, Mastodon this is definitely another podcast topic because Mastodon are in this weird place where they're giant, they're really big, but at the same time they're not as big as you'd expect them to be.
No,
they've never really surpassed any of the we saw them at the House of Blues, and that was a good show. Yeah. But they've never really surpassed any of the new metal bands that came out just a little bit before them. And or even Gojira and those bands, and you really think Mastodon would.
You would think so, especially with their newer albums, which are much more focused, at least in a popular sense.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's kind of weird. And I remember reading an interview with Brent Hines being like, yeah, man, we have to tour 24/7, otherwise, to make a living, because there's no money left in the music industry. And to hear fucking Brent Hines of Mastodon say that, that's sobering.
Yeah. Speaking of Brent Hines, isn't there a new Kill or Be Killed coming out? Or that did come out?
Brent Hines isn't in Kill or Be Killed.
I know.
Troy Sanders
What else? Troy Sanders isn't Kill or Be Killed. This is going off the Mastodon topic. But I think there's a new Kill or Be Killed album also coming up. Is Brent Hines in anything else?
Maybe. I know he has a solo project.
Okay. I don't know. This is kind of off topic, but I'm really curious at this point.
No, yeah. Kill or Be Killed released a couple singles, and I'm pretty sure the album's coming out in a few months, or within a couple months.
It's coming out in November.
Gotcha. Yeah, that should be solid.
By the way, not a fan of Kill or Be Killed.
I mean, we just don't like that kind of music.
Fair.
It's like groove metal, right?
Yeah, it's groove metal. It's groove metal with Max Cavalera, Greg Puciato,
Ben
Troy
Kohler.
Sanders, and Ben Kohler. Like, hello? That should be perfect.
Yeah, honestly, if they were playing any other style of heavy music, I'm sure it'd be great.
Yeah. Very strange.
Well,
do you know Nate Newton was actually in Kill or Be Killed before Troy Sanders?
You can't make this stuff up.
I'm not making it up.
Do you got any albums that are coming out soon? That we're excited
Albums that are
for?
coming out soon? Actually,
This
I
Friday?
think there are a few albums that... Actually, I'm looking at my list now. I don't have any... Like, I have a few albums, but none of them are, like, really sticking out to me.
Yeah, it seems like October blew its load a little early.
October definitely blew its load early. I mean, if you haven't listened to the new Enslaved, like, it's probably worth your time if you like that.
I don't know, man. AMG gave it a 2.5.
Yes, it probably should be. But yeah, no, I don't know actually of anything coming out. For reference for the listening public, we're recording this episode a little bit early, so we're not totally informed about what's coming out this week on Friday.
For a while, but I really do think there isn't anything too big, at least in metal, coming out this Friday.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have a few albums to name, like New Repuked, New Empress, and New Incinerate. I don't know any of those bands.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of those bands ever, so if that tells you anything.
Yeah, but they're coming out with stuff.
Well, I'm sure there'll be at least something really solid on Friday, as there is every Friday.
And for all we know, we missed something like 2 weeks ago that Invisible Oranges or Stereo Gum.
Actually, I've been meaning to listen to the new Toad Eater album.
I've listened to it. It's pretty good.
Sounds about right. It's black metal, so
it's pretty good. It's pretty good black metal. Yeah, But
I mean, other than that, I think that's it.
That's it too. Well, I mean, yeah. How should we wrap up? I mean, we've kind of gotten off topic a little bit, but
that's all part of the fun.
True.
I know voting's in a month, so that's exciting.
Voting is in a month. Go vote. Yeah, I mean, COVID-19 has done bad and good things. Mostly bad, but some good. And yeah, stay tuned next week.
Where we talk about how Broken Side saved metal.
I don't know about that, but we will we'll find out next time, I guess.
Hopefully this will be on the streaming services. Adam.
We're figuring that out. We're figuring it out.
Oh, well, I've been Sam.
And I have been Adam.
And check us out this Thursday, end of time. Au revoir.